Coming up on Network Africa, Al-Shabaab claims responsibility for a deadly attack on Somalia military base. Plus, another fire breaks out at a Kenyan school, injuring 12 people. And the Vice President of the Indian Ocean nation of Comoros, Mr. Jani Abdu, survives an assassination attempt. Thanks for joining us on the program. I am BC Adebayo. We begin with stories and happenings that made headlines over the weekend. From bilateral relations to migrant stories and crime in South Africa, here's a summary of weekend stories.
Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in Kigali on Sunday for a state visit to Rwanda after a two-day visit to Senegal. This is the first by a Chinese head of state to the African country. President Xi is on an African tour to sign bilateral deals that will also take him to South Africa for a summit of BRICS countries: Brazil, Russia, India, China and South Africa. Analysts say that this visit is expected to boost bilateral ties between the two countries, which hopes to deepen cooperation with China.
And it will give an opportunity to Africa to pursue the industrialization process, but also to increase productive capacity of Africa, but also it will give an opportunity to China actually to strengthen its relationship with Africa, and it will be a win-win kind of framework between the continent and China.
Since the establishment of their diplomatic relations 47 years ago, both countries have enjoyed a healthy and steady development. Over 300 migrants were rescued from 15 dinghies by the Spanish Coast Guard on Sunday at the Strait of Gibraltar and at the Alboran Sea. The Spanish Maritime Rescue Service said that this latest figure adds to the 329 already rescued on Saturday and 450 on Friday. In recent times, Spain has become the main entry point for asylum seekers fleeing Africa, an influx that European Union officials fear could exacerbate political tensions across the region over migration. 11 minibus taxi drivers in the coastal province of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa, were killed in an apparent ambush where more than 200 shots were fired into the vehicle they were traveling in. The ambush occurred when the minibus carrying members of the Johannesburg-based Taxi Drivers Association were returning home from attending the funeral of a colleague at Ematimatolo in KwaZulu. South Africa has seen a spate of taxi-related violence and killings by rival groups, and a few days ago, Johannesburg was the theatre for the killings.
Now we have updates on some of those stories, and talking about updates now, we'll stay with the story of the taxi drivers. And South African police say they've established a special task force to investigate the fatal shooting of the taxi drivers. According to Police Commissioner Lieutenant General Kayla Sitole, the new team will have specialized units, including crime intelligence, at its disposal. It says the police now have a 72-hour plan to trace and arrest suspects. The men from the Gauteng province were traveling to Johannesburg on Saturday night when their minibus was fired at. In time past, rivalry between groups running minibus taxi routes in South Africa has led to violence. For more on this now, we're being joined by our South Africa Bureau Chief, Betty Dibia. Hello, Betty. What a tragic turn of events for the families of these men. Is there more you can tell us about this story?
Well, you've said the bulk of it. The group of men, 11, there were more than that, about 15 of them coming back from KwaZulu-Natal. It was late hours on Saturday, and we understand that a group of men jumped onto the road and pumped about 250 bullets into that minibus taxi. We call it, I can't quite remember what we call it, but, you know, killing 11 people. 4 people were critically injured. I think 1 has died, but that's where we are. Many people, there's so many more questions than answers at this point. Even the national taxi grouping, that's Santaco, as well as the local ones, where the 10 of the men were from, that's the Ivy Park Taxi Association. The leaders are baffled that such a thing would happen. Even one of the leaders is saying probably he was mistaken, because we have taxi violence in Gauteng and we have taxi violence in KwaZulu-Natal as well. So he's saying probably he was mistaken identity, but the fact is that 11 people or probably more have died in this incident, which everyone is condemning.
It's a very, very sad incident indeed. And we understand that rivalry between groups running minibus taxi routes has led to violence in the past. Could this be any different?
Leading to this killing, I really can't say, because these people went to bury one of their own. And we don't really know, even the leaders can't say at this point. They're actually baffled. So, but the fact remains that we've had taxi violence in the... 2 weeks ago, a taxi owner, a taxi boss was killed. Today, we've heard that another person has been shot. So most of the time, turf battles, as in TURF, turf battles regarding the routes, people encroaching on other people's routes, and it gets quite violent, and bullets fly most of the time.